Ever jolted awake in the dark, pulse jackhammering, positive the shriek that yanked you out of sleep is still ricocheting around the room? You're not overreacting. The FBI found that fully 70% of residential child abduction attempts happen while the house is asleep, between midnight and 8 a.m. Every statistic you'll hear tonight isn't meant to paralyze you. It's proof that the tiny hairs on your neck are better first responders than any alarm system money can buy. You'll hear 3 verified accounts that start with a twinge, a crimson sky, a silk-wrapped fairy tale, a midnight knock, and end with a life forever bent out of shape. Dim the lights, check the door behind you twice, and press play. 5-year-old twins Leo and Luca shared a pirate-themed bunk bed pressed flush against a second-story window in Maple Terrace, Oregon, a cul-de-sac so quiet the newspaper landed softly enough to hear finches at dawn. At 5:14 a.m., on a fog-thick Saturday, the sky burned volcanic red. Leo snapped awake to see a bald stranger crouched on the shingles, electric blue irises sparking in the half-light, both palms flat on the glass. His breath etched an oval of frost, like a monstrous monocle staring back. Leo's scream detonated. Their mother sprinted in, scooped both boys like linebackers, and ran for the master bedroom, knocking family photos off the hallway walls. Their father, a reserve deputy on his one weekend off, snatched a steel-bodied maglite and barreled barefoot across cold flagstones into the backyard. Cedar needles stuck to his soles. The air smelled of diesel from the nearby rail spur. Behind the fence, a freight engine idled, metal, groaning like a beast waking up. No footprints dented the mud, no boot prints on the roof, no sign the man had ever existed. By sunrise, the incident had been downgraded to bad dream. Officers canvassed neighbors. Nothing. Older kids on bikes claimed they'd seen a rusty pickup circling, but no plate was logged. The town had no CCTV back then. The police file closed with unfounded and a shrug emoji, long before emojis existed. 22 years later, the siblings reunited at a Bogota ICU where their father lay in a coma after a stroke sustained while volunteering abroad. Killing time, Leo joked about the blue-eyed boogeyman. Their sister Maya, now a trauma nurse, went paper white. She confessed that a rust-flecked pickup had tailed her bicycle for weeks that spring, drifting behind whenever she rode home alone. The night of Leo's scream, she woke to that same bald head, levering her unlocked sash upward. Their dad's flashlight and nightstick drove him off, but he doubled back to the twins' room seconds later. Only a stubborn latch and a frantic parental chase sent him vanishing into the tree-lined rail spur. After the funeral, the twins emptied their dad's desk and discovered a brittle FBI flyer dated 1999, a composite sketch of a bald predator linked to 2 attempted kidnappings in the same county. Across the top, their father had inked a single word, "Next." The nightmare was never a dream. It was a timestamp, the instant a criminal realized he'd chosen the wrong family. But monsters don't always climb roofs. Sometimes they buy you dinner first. Riley, 26, splits 12-hour nights on a Melbourne cardiac ward, with bouts of insomnia scrolling dating apps. Up pops Alvaro, 32, espresso accent, dove gray suit, grin that looks photoshopped onto sunshine. They meet atop a riverside hotel. He orders a bottle whose price makes Riley raise her eyebrows. The conversation feels engineered, shared 80s power ballads, identical bucket list hikes, even the same obscure coffee order. 2 days later, he texts first-class tickets to Queensland, promising a sunset helicopter ride, champagne on a private yacht, and a boutique suite with sea salt sheets. A courier arrives with silk lingerie, wrong size but stratospherically expensive, and a handwritten note, "Pack nothing, let me spoil you." The nurse and Riley, trained to treat faint murmurs as heart attacks until proven otherwise, can't ignore the alarm. She reverse image searches his WhatsApp photo. 0.4 seconds later, a Portuguese wedding blog appears. Same dimpled grin, bride in lace. She hunts deeper. ASIC business registers, electoral rolls, even old MySpace caches. 5 surnames surface, one tied to a default judgment for $38,000, another to a bounce check warrant in Rio. Finally, she lands on an FTC post showing romance scam victims lost $1.14 billion in 2023, the biggest haul of any imposter scheme. So Riley writes her own plot twist. She enthuses about the trip but insists they detour through Glenburn, population 300, 1 sagging platform, single daily train, to see the real Australia. Alvaro brags he can charm kangaroos and packs his best linen. He flies 2 hours north, rides 5 more west, and steps into slanting rain under a flickering sodium lamp. "Where are you?" he texts, selfie attached. Back in Melbourne, hoodie on, kettle whistling, Riley replies, "Sometimes the destination is the truth." She attaches every screenshot, fake profiles, wedding photos, court filings, and hits send before blocking him everywhere. 8 soaked hours and a $400 cab ride later, Mr. Perfect checks into an airport motel alone and learns a new meaning of ghosted. 30 days on, an Instagram DM arrives from his legal wife. Riley's dossier has secured a restraining order, frozen a student loan scam, and triggered an immigration fraud probe. Compliments are cheap, but curiosity is priceless and lethal to a con. Yet danger doesn't always flatter you. Sometimes it just wants a tiny favor. St. Patrick's Night, Westfield University. Dorm hallways drip neon green beer. Speakers blast tinny Celtic pop. Sophomores Tessa and May skip the madness for a Friends mega marathon in apartment 2B, 5th rewatch, kettle corn everywhere, rain spattering the windows. At 11:57 p.m., 3 bone-rattling thuds shake their fiberglass door. "Hey, can I borrow your phone?" a male voice calls. Level, almost bored, as if reading from a script. May mutes the TV. Tessa kills the lamp. Another knock taps out a deliberate waltz rhythm. The request repeats, word perfect, like a glitching voicemail. 7 words, identical cadence. Inside, the roommates execute the silent code they've practiced since freshman orientation. Tessa texts campus security without lifting her fingers high enough to cast a shadow. May edges toward the kitchenette and grips a cast iron skillet. Heavy footsteps retreat. The stairwell groans. A door slams 2 flights up. 12:04 a.m., phone screens flare. Emergency! Stabbing in Levy Hall, 3rd floor. Suspect at large. Victim, Senior Andrea Whitman. Honors chemistry. MO. Stranger requests phone, steps inside, snatches a drying rack carving knife, inflicts 5 abdominal wounds, vanishes into a river of green-clad revelers. EMTs staged for the street festival keep her alive. Surgery takes 4 hours and 80 stitches. Detectives later trace a bloody palm smear on a railing 2 flights down. The stranger's descent path. They believe he canvassed every lower-level door. Apartment 2B was first in line. 1 deadbolt, 1 skillet, and 2 women who treat every knock as an ambush rerouted a killer by 20 wooden steps. Campus locked down for 16 hours. Helicopters thudded overhead while dogs swept every alley. The suspect dissolved into the crowd, never named. Anonymity, Tessa realized, is a mask you can rent for the price of a thrift store hoodie. She and May still lock doors compulsively, muscle memory that feels excessive until it saves your life. 1 crimson dawn, 1 silk-wrapped fairy tale, 1 midnight knock, 3 lives pivoted on a sliver of instinct. Latch the window, open a browser, stay silent. Ignore those micro-alarms and terror walks in wearing quiet shoes. Honor them, and the monster ends up pacing a rain-soaked train station, or prowling someone else's hallway instead of yours. Which story stamped itself on your nerves? Tell me in the comments. Hit subscribe for more descent into cases nobody remembers, until darkness offers them a second stage. Meanwhile, stay curious, stay cautious, and keep your nightmares from learning your address.